Right now, as you're rewatching this video, freezing rain is already falling across Interstate 35 in Texas. In the next 18 hours, this storm will explode into something we haven't seen in over 30 years across the South. Before I show you the exact timeline for your city, let me tell you this. Someone watching this video right now is going to lose power for days, and the temperature will drop to 5 degrees while they re-sitting in the dark. But if you know exactly when it's hitting your area, you can prepare. So drop a comment right now with your city name and I'll give you a personalized forecast in the replies. This is our third update in 12 hours because this storm keeps getting worse with every new model run. The high-resolution models just came in 20 minutes ago, and what they re-showing is frankly terrifying for certain areas. I'm going to walk you through this frame by frame, city by city, so you know exactly what's coming and exactly when it's arriving at your doorstep. Let us start with what's happening right this second. As of 6 p.m. Friday evening, freezing rain is coating the roads between Midland and Abilene, Texas. The temperature at the surface is 31 degrees, but rain is falling through a layer of air that's 38 degrees about 2,000 feet up. That rain instantly freezes the moment it touches the pavement. Interstate 20 is becoming a skating rink right now. Interstate 35 from Waco up to the Oklahoma border is next. Interstate 40 between Amarillo and Oklahoma City will be impassable by 9 p.m. tonight. But here's what most people don't understand about this storm. This isn't just about snow. This isn't just about ice. This is about the combination of both, hitting areas that haven't seen anything like this in a generation, followed by temperatures so cold that even if you prepare, you're going to be shocked. Let me show you what Saturday morning looks like, and this is where things get real. By 6 a.m. Saturday, this storm will have exploded in size and intensity. Snow will be flying in Memphis, Tennessee by 6 o'clock in the morning. Heavy snow will be falling in Kansas City, Missouri. Springfield, Missouri will be getting hammered. Bentonville, Arkansas is going to see snow rates of 2 to 3 inches per hour. Oklahoma City will be in the middle of a blizzard with visibility near zero. Little Rock, Arkansas will have heavy snow mixing with sleet. At the exact same time, a stripe of freezing rain will be devastating an area from Midland, Texas, through Dallas, over to Shreveport, Louisiana, and into Greenwood, Mississippi. This is a long-duration freezing rain event. We're talking 12 to 18 hours of continuous freezing rain in some of these cities. Every hour that freezing rain falls, you add another 1/8 of an inch of ice to the trees, to the power lines, to everything. Now here's something unusual that's going to happen, and meteorologists love this stuff, but it is dangerous. South of Dallas and Austin, Texas, we're going to have thunderstorms. Heavy rain with lightning and thunder. Some of that thunderstorm energy is going to push north into the cold air near the surface, and we're going to get something called thunder sleet, or thunder snow, or thunder freezing rain. Imagine hearing thunder while sleet is bouncing off your roof. That's the kind of energy we were dealing with. Let me zoom out and show you Saturday afternoon at 2 p.m. This is 8 hours after sunrise. Nashville, Tennessee will have heavy snow falling. 3 to 5 inches will already be on the ground. But here is the problem for Nashville. You're going to flip from snow to sleet at 2 p.m. and then by 6 p.m. you'll be in freezing rain. Memphis will flip from snow to sleet at 2 in the afternoon. Little Rock will be all freezing rain by 2 p.m. St. Louis, Missouri will have light snow. Jefferson City, Missouri will have light snow accumulating quickly, and this is when snow starts flying in Kentucky. Pikeville will see the first flakes. Lexington will start seeing snow. Louisville will start seeing accumulation. But there's a critical question for Kentucky, and I'll explain this in detail because it's going to determine whether you get 6 inches or 14 inches of snow. Let us push forward to Saturday night at 8 p.m. This is when the storm reaches its peak intensity for the South. Nashville will have 3 to 5 inches of snow on the ground, but now it's changing to sleet. Within 2 hours, freezing rain begins, and this is where Nashville's nightmare scenario starts. Jackson, Tennessee, all freezing rain. Memphis, all freezing rain. Pine Bluff, Arkansas, all freezing rain. El Dorado, Arkansas, all freezing rain. Greenwood, Mississippi, all freezing rain. Oxford, Mississippi, all freezing rain. Monroe, Louisiana, all freezing rain. Shreveport, Louisiana, all freezing rain. Dallas, all freezing rain. Tyler, Texas, all freezing rain. Killeen, Texas, all freezing rain. Temple, Texas, all freezing rain. Maybe even Houston sees some freezing rain on the northern edge. At the same time, heavy, intense snow will be falling from Amarillo back down through Vernon, Texas, and possibly into Wichita Falls. Oklahoma City stays all snow throughout the entire event. No mixing, no sleet, no freezing rain, just heavy snow. This is actually good news for Oklahoma City because snow you can shovel. Ice you cannot remove. The heaviest snow for Oklahoma City and Bentonville happens around midnight Saturday into Sunday morning. This is when snowfall rates could hit 3 inches per hour. This is when you wake up Sunday morning and there's a foot of snow in your yard. This is when roads become completely impassable. This is when even snowplows can keep up. Now let me explain the Tennessee and Kentucky situation because this is complicated and it matters. There's warm air moving in from the south, funneling up between the Appalachian Mountains and the flatter areas to the west. The thickness of this warm layer is going to determine everything. Right now, most models show about 11 inches of snow for Lexington, Kentucky, maybe 13 or 14 inches for Louisville. But I specifically think Lexington could see less than that, maybe just 6 to 9 inches. Here's why. If that warm air pushes just 30 miles farther north and west, Lexington will mix with sleet for several hours. Sleet cuts down your snow totals significantly. You will still get ice and sleet accumulation, but your final snow number drops. The same story applies to Huntington, West Virginia, Charleston, West Virginia, Clarksburg, West Virginia, Lebanon, Kentucky, Bowling Green, Kentucky, areas just south of Evansville, Indiana, Cape Girardeau, Missouri, Jonesboro, Arkansas. How wide this warm nose of air extends is the deciding factor for two critical things. First, how bad is the ice storm in Nashville? Second, how much snow does Lexington get? And here, the tough truth. If you are a snow lover in Lexington, I am actually rooting for you to get less snow. Because you know what happens if Lexington gets less snow because the warm air channel is wider? Nashville flips to all rain. We read just 50 miles away from Nashville getting plain rain instead of a catastrophic ice storm. The current high-resolution model shows a devastating freezing rain event for Nashville with ice accumulations that would cause widespread, long-duration power outages and extremely dangerous travel conditions. Trees will fall, power lines will snap, roads will be closed for days. But if that warm air at 33 or 34 degrees at the surface moves just a little bit farther west, we avoid disaster in Nashville. That's what we all want. But Lexington would have to sacrifice some snow totals. I believe the width of this warm air channel might be slightly underestimated in the models. If I'm right, that is the saving grace for Nashville, and that's why Lexington sees lower snow totals. If I am wrong, Lexington is in for major snow, possibly 12 to 14 inches, and unfortunately Nashville faces a very serious ice storm. We were also looking at serious ice accumulations in Tupelo, Mississippi, Greenwood, Mississippi, Yazoo City, Mississippi, Vicksburg, Mississippi, Natchez, Mississippi, Monroe, Louisiana, Shreveport, Louisiana. Someone in this region is going to receive over 1 inch of ice accumulation. If that happens, trees that have been standing for 100 years will snap like toothpicks. We are going to see impacts from this winter storm that we haven't witnessed in over 30 years in some locations, maybe even longer in others. A similar warning applies to Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. We expect significant icing here as well. Between 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch of ice is possible. Some spots might see even more. The problem in this region is vegetation. There are more trees, more power lines running through wooded areas, more infrastructure intertwined with nature, especially closer to the Appalachian Mountains. That makes this a bigger problem, even if slightly less ice falls compared to Mississippi. 1/2 inch of ice will cause major power problems in Asheville, North Carolina, Gainesville, Georgia, Greenville, South Carolina, Statesville, North Carolina, Spartanburg, South Carolina, Anderson, South Carolina. Make sure you are prepared for a dangerous, long-duration winter storm with ice. Ice is also expected as far north as Richmond, Virginia. You could see up to 1/2 inch there. And at the exact moment that ice is coating trees in Richmond, heavy snow will be burying Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, and Boston. Let me talk about the Northeast, because this is going to be a legitimate blockbuster snowstorm for you. Boston, Massachusetts, you are in the running for 2 feet of snow. The latest national blend of models shows 25.7 inches in Plymouth, Massachusetts, 24 inches in Boston proper, Worcester, Massachusetts, 21 inches, Hartford, Connecticut, 17 inches, New York City, 16 inches, Philadelphia, 13 inches, Baltimore, 11.9 inches, Washington, D.C., 11.2 inches. These are on the higher end of possibilities, but they are absolutely possible. This model has been consistent for the last 36 hours. That gives me confidence. How about you in Providence, Rhode Island? 20 inches possible. Portland, Maine, 14 inches possible. Concord, New Hampshire, 12 inches possible. Burlington, Vermont, 9 inches possible. Now let's talk about the Ohio River Valley because this is another bullseye zone. Cincinnati, Ohio, 13 to 14 inches possible. Louisville, Kentucky, 13 to 14 inches possible. Evansville, Indiana, 13 to 14 inches possible. Lexington, Kentucky, 11 to 14 inches possible, but remember my caveat about the warm air. I think Lexington might be right on the edge of cutting off, which means places like Lebanon, Kentucky, Bowling Green, Kentucky, and Grayson, Kentucky could see reduced totals. Clarksville, Tennessee, the models really want to give you 6 inches of snow. I think that S going to be on the high end. If you end up with 6 inches in Clarksville, consider yourself fortunate because there's a chance some of that warm air works into your area. And honestly, we hoping for that because it would be better for Nashville. There is almost no scenario where Nashville gets more than 4 inches of snow. The focus for Nashville is ice, not snow. Memphis, 4 inches of snow is possible, but you want to see it all on the ground at one time because you'll mix with sleet and freezing rain. Same situation in Little Rock. The bullseye areas where it's all snow and we don't have to worry much about ice include Tulsa, Oklahoma, where 15 inches of snow is possible. Oklahoma City, a foot of snow. Springfield, Missouri, a foot of snow. Joplin, Missouri, a foot of snow. How about you in St. Louis? 8 inches is possible on the top end. Indianapolis, 9.5 inches. Columbus, Ohio, 11.2 inches. Cleveland, Ohio, 7.7 inches. Charleston, West Virginia, 8.4 inches, though you might mix with some sleet. Richmond, Virginia, 6.3 inches before you flip to ice. Let me talk about the lower end of snowfall possibilities because it's important to understand the range. Boston, at minimum, I think 12 inches of snow is likely. New York City, at minimum, 8 to 10 inches. Washington, D.C., at minimum, 6 to 8 inches. The Ohio River Valley between Evansville, Louisville, Lexington, and Cincinnati, a lot of these places will still see a foot of snow even on the lower end. The Ohio River Valley is a lock for some of the greatest impacts from this storm. Another major impact zone is between Oklahoma City and Bentonville and Fayetteville, Arkansas, where over a foot of snow is extremely likely. Notice how we have lower totals in places like Jefferson City, Missouri, St. Louis, Indianapolis, and Fort Wayne, Indiana. This model does a better job of narrowing the heaviest snow band and focusing on specific areas, which is what is going to happen in reality. Now let me show you the Winter Storm Severity Index, and this is my favorite tool because we can talk about inches of snow, inches of ice, and wind speeds independently, but that gets boring and it loses impact. This index combines everything into one picture and tells you what to expect on the ground. Impacts, not totals. Impacts are what matter. If you are in the red zone, expect major impacts from this winter storm, whether from snow or ice or both. Major impacts mean significant interruptions to your daily life. Roads impassable, flights canceled, businesses closed, schools closed for multiple days. If you are in the orange zone, expect moderate impacts. That's the vast majority of you. Moderate impacts can cancel school, cancel flights, make roads hazardous, but you'll still have power most likely, and things return to normal within a day or two. If you are in the purple zone, we are talking about extreme impacts. This is where we could have an actual emergency on our hands. No flights, no driving, potential power outages lasting days, and possibly not having the ability to restore power quickly because repair crews can't even get to the damaged lines. Extreme impacts are forecast between Greenwood, Mississippi, Tupelo, Mississippi, Oxford, Mississippi, and Boonville, Mississippi. I am genuinely concerned for people in this region. Someone here will end up with more than 1 inch of ice, and that is catastrophic because we also going to have winds gusting 20 to 30 miles per hour. Imagine adding hundreds of pounds of ice to a large tree. That's bad enough. Now add a 30-mile-per-hour wind gust hitting that tree. What happens? The tree snaps. It falls on power lines. It falls on homes. It blocks roads. That's the kind of scenario we're dealing with. We also have isolated extreme impacts expected north of Atlanta, near Clayton, Georgia, and Brevard, North Carolina. Right on the border between North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. I expect that extreme zone to potentially expand toward areas closer to Charlotte, North Carolina, which is currently expecting major impacts. Same situation for areas just north and west of Raleigh, North Carolina, and into Richmond, Virginia. Major impacts are expected all across southern New England into the northeast, the Interstate 95 corridor, all the way back into upstate New York, the Appalachian Mountains in Pennsylvania, the entire state of Massachusetts, and parts of southern Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont. This is all because of snow. It's going to snow heavily. It's going to snow hard. Snowfall rates of 2 to 3 inches per hour at times. Roads will be a complete mess. This is not going to be a once-in-a-lifetime storm for the Northeast. This might be a once-in-a-lifetime storm for some people in the South, but for the Northeast, this is a once-a-year kind of storm. We get one of these usually every winter. This one is definitely not minor. It's going to be a major storm, but you know how to handle it. Get ready, stock up, stay off the road Saturday night into Sunday. Now, if you're anywhere between Washington, D.C. and Boston, let's talk about what happens after the storm passes. A lot of people think once the snow stops, we're done and we don't have to worry anymore. That is absolutely not true. One of the reasons this storm even exists is because a massive high-pressure system is coming out of Canada, pushing Arctic air way down toward the Gulf of Mexico, where it has no business being. And it's doing such a good job of pushing that cold air south that it is going to stick around for a while. Our atmosphere doesn't know how to reposition itself to push the cold out in the way it normally does because this kind of pattern doesn't happen often. We were going to be stuck with this brutal cold air for quite some time. And that is especially dangerous for anyone who loses power. Let me show you Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. The storm is done. It's not snowing anymore. But look at these temperatures. 5 degrees in Florence, Alabama. Some of these places expecting extreme impacts are going to have temperatures they haven't seen in decades. 4 degrees in Tupelo, Mississippi. 7 degrees in Yazoo City, Mississippi. 13 degrees in Jackson, Mississippi. This is an area where it doesn't usually get that cold, and this is the actual air temperature, not the wind chill. Add the wind, and it feels even colder. We're talking about 11 degrees in Dallas, 13 degrees in Oklahoma City, 1 degree in Little Rock, 0 degrees in Nashville. It's going to be colder in Nashville than it is in Great Falls, Montana on Tuesday morning. Let me repeat that. Nashville, Tennessee will be colder than Great Falls, Montana. That puts it in perspective. The cold is moving into the northeast as well. If we lose power anywhere, this becomes quite dangerous. Make sure you check on your neighbors, especially if they're elderly. Make sure you bring your pets inside. Think about other people. This might be a good opportunity to talk to your neighbor before this storm starts, form a relationship, and make sure you rechecking in on everybody because this has the potential to be a truly life-altering storm for certain communities and certain individuals. Let me give you specific timing for major cities because that's what you came here for. Drop a comment with your city and I'll refine this even further, but here's the general timeline. Dallas, Texas. Freezing rain begins Friday evening around 9 p.m., continues through Saturday morning. Heaviest ice accumulation Saturday afternoon and evening. Transitions to sleet Sunday morning. Ends Sunday afternoon. Total ice accumulation 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. Oklahoma City. Snow begins late Friday night around midnight, becomes heavy Saturday morning. Heaviest snow Saturday evening into Sunday morning. Ends Sunday afternoon. Total accumulation 10 to 14 inches. Little Rock, Arkansas. Snow begins early Saturday morning around 4 a.m. Mixes with sleet by noon. Changes to freezing rain Saturday evening. Continues through Sunday morning. Ends Sunday afternoon. Total accumulation 3 inches snow, 1/4 inch ice. Memphis, Tennessee. Snow begins Saturday morning around 6 a.m. Accumulates 3 to 4 inches by afternoon. Changes to sleet Saturday afternoon. Changes to freezing rain Saturday evening, continues through Sunday, ends Sunday evening. Total accumulation, 4 inches snow, 1/2 inch ice, Nashville, Tennessee. Snow begins Saturday around noon, accumulates 3 to 5 inches by evening, changes to sleet Saturday evening, changes to freezing rain by midnight, continues through Sunday and possibly Monday morning. This is the worst case scenario. Total accumulation, 4 inches snow, 3/4 of an inch to over 1 inch of ice. Lexington, Kentucky. Snow begins Saturday afternoon around 2 p.m. Becomes heavy Saturday evening. Heaviest snow overnight Saturday into Sunday. Possible mix with sleet Sunday morning depending on warm air movement. Ends Sunday afternoon. Total accumulation, 8 to 13 inches, possibly less if sleet mixes in. Louisville, Kentucky. Snow begins Saturday afternoon, becomes heavy Saturday evening, continues heavy through Sunday morning, ends Sunday afternoon. Total accumulation, 11 to 14 inches. Cincinnati, Ohio. Snow begins Saturday afternoon, becomes heavy Saturday evening, continues through Sunday morning, ends Sunday afternoon. Total accumulation, 12 to 14 inches. St. Louis, Missouri. Light snow begins Saturday morning, moderate snow Saturday afternoon and evening, heaviest overnight, ends Sunday morning. Total accumulation 6 to 9 inches. Indianapolis, Indiana. Snow begins Saturday afternoon, moderate to heavy Saturday evening, continues through Sunday morning, ends Sunday afternoon. Total accumulation 8 to 10 inches. Columbus, Ohio. Snow begins Saturday afternoon, heavy Saturday evening through Sunday morning, ends Sunday afternoon. Total accumulation 10 to 12 inches. Washington, D.C. Snow begins Saturday evening around 6 p.m., becomes moderate to heavy overnight. Heaviest Sunday morning, ends Sunday afternoon. Total accumulation 9 to 13 inches. Philadelphia. Snow begins Saturday evening around 7 p.m., becomes heavy overnight. Heaviest Sunday morning, continues through Sunday afternoon, ends Sunday evening. Total accumulation 11 to 15 inches. New York City. Snow begins Saturday evening around 8 p.m., becomes heavy after midnight. Heaviest Sunday morning and early afternoon, ends Sunday evening. Total accumulation 14 to 18 inches. Boston. Snow begins Saturday night around 10 p.m., becomes heavy after midnight, extremely heavy Sunday morning through afternoon. Snowfall rates could hit 3 inches per hour, ends Sunday evening. Total accumulation 18 to 26 inches. This is a legitimate blockbuster for Boston. Now let me address the question everyone is asking. Will this happen? Are the models right? Here what I'll tell you. The models have been remarkably consistent for the last 48 hours on the overall pattern. The storm is happening, the cold air is locked in, the moisture is coming. What is still uncertain is the exact placement of that warm layer of air I talked about earlier, and that determines who gets all snow versus who gets ice. For the Northeast, I have very high confidence in a major snowstorm. The only question is whether you get 12 inches or 24 inches. For the South, I have very high confidence in a major ice storm for Mississippi and parts of Louisiana, Tennessee, and Arkansas. The question is whether Nashville gets devastated or merely impacted. So what should you do right now? If you're in the ice zone, go to the store today if you haven't already. Get batteries, get flashlights, get non-perishable food, fill your bathtub with water in case you lose water pressure. Charge every device you own. Charge backup battery packs. If you have a generator, test it now. Make sure you have fuel. Never run a generator indoors. If you were in the heavy snow zone, make sure you have a snow shovel. Make sure you have ice melt or sand. Make sure your car has a full tank of gas. Keep a winter emergency kit in your car. Blankets, water, snacks, flashlight. For everyone, check on your neighbors. Make a plan. If you lose power, where will you go? Do you have family nearby? Can you help someone who might need it? Let me talk about the pattern after this storm because I've teased this a few times and it matters. The Climate Prediction Center has painted a massive cold blob over the southeast for the next 10 days. From the 6 to 10 day time period, we are going to be well below average in New Orleans, Atlanta, the entire state of Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, up into the Interstate 95 corridor in the Mid-Atlantic. The Tennessee and Ohio valleys are included. We restuck with this cold air. And here's what is interesting. There are multiple signals in the long-range data for another significant snowstorm impacting the South and parts of the East Coast right after this one. When you have this much cold air in place and you have another storm system coming, that is something you cannot ignore even on long-range data. I am not going to show you those details today because they were going to change, but it is definitely something we need to watch carefully. If you want more information on that potential second storm, make sure you subscribe right now and turn on notifications. I'll have another update tomorrow morning with any changes to this forecast, and we'll start looking at what comes next week. Before I go, let me remind you one more time. Drop a comment with your city name, and I'll reply with your specific forecast. I am going through comments all night tonight and tomorrow to make sure everyone gets the information they need. This is a serious, dangerous, potentially historic winter storm for millions of people. Take it seriously. Prepare today. Check on your neighbors. Stay safe.